If you could describe wellness in one word or one phrase, what would that be?
I think it would be unapologetic. Being unapologetic about how you pursue wellness. Like, what is that? Whatever that looks like for you, whatever that feels like, however long that takes you, the boundaries you have to set in order to find that wellness for yourself. Like every piece that you navigate, like being unapologetic about what you have to do in order to find that voice of radical self-love and that holistic version of health for you.
Because we shouldn't say sorry about being ourselves.
Nah. Welcome to Quest, a journey to wellness. On this podcast, you'll hear stories from queer folks and allies who've taken their happiness and well-being into their own hands by examining what they have found helpful along the way. My name is V, aka Vanessa. I'm a two-spirit human, joy influencer, energy worker, and a dad joke connoisseur. All pronouns accepted.
My name is Corey. My pronouns are he, him, they, them. I'm a trans-masculine digiqueer human. I love getting lost in nature, taking too many psychedelics, and anything reckless, really.
Happy Valentine's Day, queer kittens. Or as we like to call it on the pod, Happy Radical Self-Love Day.
Our intention with this episode is to show you how to radically love yourself by being in touch with your body and the vessel that it is. So we'll be chatting with Kaylin Marisol, aka the Vulva Witch, and that's with a U, not an O, about body positivity and the journey to radical self-love.
Kaylin goes by she, her pronouns. She's a queer femme, wife, mama, birth doula, sex educator, and positive body image advocate.
We hope this podcast brings you joy, where you'll learn, laugh, heal, and grow. Howdy, V.
What's up, Core? And what's up, queer kittens? Welcome back, or welcome first times.
We love first timers. So I'm pretty sure I saw you at a queer wellness symposium. Was that you?
Well, speaking of first times, yes, you did. our dear friend Nico Storment through this queer wellness symposium that I believe we were vending at the same table.
Oh, yes, we were. No, that was a cute little symposium. So V and I got the opportunity, along with one of our executive producers, Stevie, to vend at a queer wellness symposium in San Francisco. And it was wonderful. We got to meet a lot of great people doing a lot of wonderful work. And here there was lectures. There was a bunch of things. Well, V, do you have anything that popped out to you? I mean, I think a lot of it did, but
yeah, there was a lot there that was so fantastic and so well organized. But I think what really popped out to me was just honestly like just the all around vibe of everyone. Like every single person I met, from like the SF LGBT Center, from Lionel Martin to Fluid Coffee Shop, like to all these like different people, like the vibe was pretty much like on the same frequency of just like love and acceptance and just like wanting to help each other grow and to network and connecting each other. And it was really cool to like be able to talk about the podcast and people just express their excitement of wanting to listen to it and wanting to also be a part of it. So it was just really nice to be able to like just literally get out there and build that community.
Absolutely. The fact that there was a queer wellness symposium was really spectacular in and of itself, because I feel like a lot of things in the queer community are based around clubs, night scene. So bringing the queer community into the daylight is nice, and with healthy intentions too. I saw Kinta, who we had on the show before, and they were there doing body work. There was a buddy, Cal, who does a non-binary running club in San Francisco. We'll put everybody in the show notes. So if anything sticks out and you're like, wow, I want to learn a little bit more about this, we'll have some show notes for you at the bottom where you can follow them.
Say a little bit about that harm reduction thing that you went to. I didn't get to go to it because I was watching the table.
A friend, Sam, is like a harm reduction educator, I would say. They wrote a book called Queering Psychedelics. In the book, there's a bunch of information about harm reduction, about psychedelic experiences in the queer community. And they went over basically Narcaning people properly. They went over like different medicines that have adverse reactions. They went over, I only caught some of it. Stevie caught most of it. However, with the bits that I did catch, it was really beneficial and informative about just basic harm reduction around psychedelics and the benefits of them, and then how to just sit with people, how to guide people, I would say, in situations that maybe aren't the most comfortable for them. Maybe they're having like a hard time dealing with something. They talked a little bit about how to just be present and validate what they're feeling and not try to like be like, hey, that's not really going on, because to them it is. And so they talked a little bit about that. It was just all around a wonderful, informative lecture.
I think now I'm starting to remember, I think you came back to the table talking about like some chart they had about like what drugs not to mix or what drugs that you can mix, or the good combos and the bad combos.
Yeah, exactly. So there's basically a chart out there, and you can line it up. It'll have like everything down on one side, everything up on the top. So you name it, like MDMA, any barbiturates, any like psychedelics, LSD, weed, all of it, mushrooms, all on one side, and it's gonna have the same list at the top. And then you just kind of follow it down, and it will tell you whether or not it has an adverse reaction with the other one. So if you're doing any like hippie flipping or Calvin Kleins or trippy dippies, like I don't know all the names of.
I'm starting to believe you're making these up.
I may have made up some of them, but which ones?
We should have this person on a future podcast so we can elaborate some more, because it sounds some good stuff.
Yeah, I think they would. I think maybe a harm reduction episode is in the works.
There was a really special person that I met that day who was working for Lion and Martin. His name was Bo, and he was just the sweetest human, looking for like non-binary trans-mask people to get training to become like medical assistants. And I was just like, what? That is insane. Like, they want to train folks, like specifically non-binary and trans-mask folks, to be medical assistants. And I'm just like, well, that would be such an amazing space to actually learn that type of stuff, because you don't see a lot of us running around being medical assistants.
Right. In the healthcare sector, you don't see a lot of like queer out trans people. So Lion and Martin is actually a healthcare provider, I would say. And that's where I get my prescription for testosterone. They help women and trans people get affordable healthcare. So if you're in the Bay Area, that's a really good resource to check out getting maybe some hormone replacement therapy prescriptions, or even just your everyday primary physician. I would check them out. Wonderful work in the community.
And do people have to be in the Bay Area in order to go to them, or can they do that online?
I think you have to go to them in person, but you don't have to have insurance. And I want to say everything's basically free. Like, I don't think I've ever received a bill from them, to be honest. Don't come after me, though.
No, that's what Bo said, that they never turn anyone away due to lack of funds, which is huge.
Yes, especially, again, in queer trans community, it's primarily women and trans people in there. So they most of their staff is queer. trans, non-binary. It's really it makes for a positive experience in when you have to go to a medical facility, right?
Yeah, and speaking about like trans mask bodies and all that, I saw a table with you on a calendar there.
Oh, baby, I finally got my calendar and I get to, it's February. So I have to switch it from me, but I probably won't. I'm just kidding.
You're on my fridge still.
No, I actually use a calendar, so I will need to switch it. Rob, who does Bay Area trans mask calendars, did a photo shoot of some trans men around the Bay Area, and I was lucky enough to be Mr. January. So hopefully I kicked y'all's year off right if you have a calendar.
I do.
And if you don't, go get one, follow them, and grab every calendar in the future. Thank you to Rob for putting that together.
Oh, yeah. My cousins came over and they're like, ooh, who's that?
It me. All right, queer kittens, we have a giveaway. It's our first giveaway, and it's going to be with Kaylin. We're going to show our appreciation for you with a little merch from Kaylin. We will have more details later on in the episode. You're going to get a top secret password to use.
Yeah, and we're really excited about this giveaway because Kaylin has some really amazing merch /shop. You can check her out and you'll see in the show notes. But, you know, we just want to be very intentional with this Valentine's Day, not only show you love, but also just, you know, make sure that we highlight the radical self-love part because that's the juice.
That's right. It's a brand new car. Just kidding. Asterisk, there's not going to be a car.
And without further ado, here's Kaylin Marisol. Welcome, Kaylin Marisol. How are you?
Hi, good. You said my name correctly. Thank you.
Yeah, I noticed in the last episode, I was like, is it Marisol or Marisol? I'm going to do both.
You did it great.
Right? Got to have the Latin flair, right?
Yeah, always.
Could you tell our listeners a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, my name is Kaylin, she, her. I'm a queer femme and I'm biracial, so Indigenous Mexican, and my dad is Caucasian. I am a lot of things, but what I am most right now is a mama. I just had a baby in November. Her name is Rome, little Romy, and she is keeping me busy every day and may make a few noises on this podcast if she comes in here.
Oh, yay. Congratulations on baby Rome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I've gotten the pleasure to meet her. She's so sweet.
Yeah,
Uncle Core.
Yeah.
I'm also known as the Vulva Witch. A lot of you may know me as that if you've followed my work since 2020. And who is the Vulva Witch? She's a photographer, an artist, an educator.
I was doing a little bit of research and I was Googling you. I think I spelled vulva wrong. I spelled so I got a lot of other things that weren't you. But there was a cool little like vulva Norse myth, which was about these women who would go around and they were like prophets and like would tell the future. And I thought that was pretty cool. But it wasn't you. You're not wearing face paint or.
They sound pretty Norse.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. Looking like a Viking warrior princess.
Yeah, just roaming around. Oh, Rome.
I see what you did there.
Oh, I love that story. When he told us, we were all cracking up. It was pretty good. He was like, wait a minute, I don't think this is her. So there's a question that we always ask everyone when they come on, and then how we started the whole thing. What was it that, like, your aha moment that really sparked your own wellness?
Actually, I had a very intense breakup, actually with my now wife. We were together for, it was like early on in our relationship, we broke up, and it was really just an awful experience for me. And in that moment, I noticed a reoccurring pattern, which was whenever a partner and I would separate, I felt like who I was, like my value and my worth would go with them. Like I no longer felt confident in myself. I felt valueless. I knew that like I couldn't go through that again. And it just had been something that had happened to me over the years, multiple times. And that really honestly kicked off for me, where I was like, there is this kind of fire within me to be like, how can we keep us from feeling like this with future partners? Like I want to be whole on my own. I want to know my value on my own. So how do we get back to that place? Because at one point in our lives, we were that, And so that's honestly really what kicked off my journey of being serious about, wellness for myself.
I'm guilty of doing all of those same things in relationships. And I think the hardest part for me was awareness. Like how did you even become aware of that?
It really, always to me centered around like when someone would leave me, I would always have these questions of like, what's wrong with me? What did I do wrong? Is it my body? It always kind of came back to my body. Like that was always the common denominator of my self-doubt and my self-worth, and my lack of self-worth, I should say, was my body image. And so once I realized that, like when I could just pause and be with the discomfort and the grief that I was feeling and actually hear myself saying these things and questioning my value based on my body, that's when I was actually able to start there, like let's start here and then start to excavate deeper and deeper and then, rewrite a new story for ourselves.
Yeah. And can you say a little bit more about some of these practices that you did for yourself or, that helped you out during that time?
Yeah. I think, it started, I really had to like stop and start to understand like where did the discomfort, the doubt about myself and my body start? Where did that start at and when? And if I started to go back and like trace the roots of these things, I had developed an eating disorder really young. I was, in middle school when I started having disordered eating behaviors. And that's really when my entire value actually started to become wrapped and centered around my body image and trying to chase beauty ideals and standards based on our society from the time I was like, 12. And that's where I was really able to like, let's go all the way back there because that's how deep our roots are. And then we can go forward, moment and experience that followed each one and kind of uproot it from our bodies and dissect it and help ourselves understand that there's no place for that anymore within us. And so I think for me, it was like being aware of the roots of it, excavating to that, and then slowly but surely being like, does this serve me? Like, let's talk about that. Let me sit with that experience I had. And does that determine my value or my worth? And start to question things. Like, honestly, I think curiosity was the first step, like getting curious about my history within myself and my body, the experiences I had had, and then being able to be with them, get to know them, get familiar with them, and understand what was serving me and what I wanted to take forward and what I could say, okay, body, we don't have to hold this truth anymore. We don't have to keep going with this belief. We can leave it behind because maybe it was an ex-partner that made me feel that way, or an experience in my physical body that made me feel that way, but we can choose to like let that go now and move forward feeling more empowered. And so I think that was the first step, definitely was like curiosity, self-talk, and like befriending myself, like getting to actually know myself and what I was made of,
Yeah, that's amazing.
Talking to your body is really important. Getting to understand your body and how it reacts to stresses or anxieties, like learning what it feels like inside is so important. And the fact that like if we think about water having memory, and we are a lot of water, 70+% water, like our body holds on to a lot of traumas and anxiety And like when we don't listen and tap in and talk, like how do we even get to understand ourselves fully? So,
Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. I remember reading this quote, and I don't remember who wrote it or said it, but it was like, you have more conversations with yourself than anyone else. And to me, it was that moment of being like, how much am I feeding myself? Like, how am I feeding myself in my mind? And what are the kinds of things that I am like fostering, for me and my value and my body? And I don't think I really had a term for it for the years that, I think I started this journey. It was really around like 25. I'm 33 almost now. And there's this book, The Body Is Not an Apology by Sonia Renee Taylor. And she had shared this term in the book that now I realize like this is exactly kind of what I was doing, but I can do it better now with what she teaches. And it's inside voices versus outside voices, and discerning what our inside voice is, our voice of radical self-love. It's this voice that's unwavering. We're born with it. It is innate within us. And then outside voices are the voices of like the systems that cause body oppression. And so when I can kind of, I have this feeling in my body, and I can actually pause and ask myself, is that an outside voice or an inside voice? Is that my innate voice of radical self-love telling me that, my postpartum body is not worthy of showing, wearing a swimsuit, having sex, doing all these things? Or is that an outside voice, a voice of, these oppressive systems? And when I can label it that and actually see like faces of cis white men making these rules about my body, then I'm actually able to be like, I'm not going to hold space for that, or at least try really hard not to,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was doom scrolling through Instagram, and there was like a little post, and it was this person who was like, this is how I dress for the male gaze, and for the male gaze, and for the male gaze, for the male gaze. And then I was like, oh wow, like yeah, like I subconsciously, female bodied people are drilled to like please someone else, to like, you have to do something and be this and look like that, and here, this is the perfect model of what you should be, and fit yourself into that. And then like the last slide, it was like, and this is for me, and she was dressed like a Smurf. But like it's true. It's like there's so much subconsciously that we do, and to appease those outside voices that you're talking about, and we don't even stop to question it. Sometimes we just go with it and say like, oh, this is normal, this is what it should be like. And we don't stop to think like, do I feel guilt, or do I feel shame? Do I feel bad anywhere in my body? Is there weight somewhere that doesn't feel like, my therapist now does somatic therapy, so we kind of like tap into our bodies and we jiggle things out. And for me, like as an anxious person, I like to fidget. So like at the beginning, like I get my little wiggle. It like centers me into that space of being present in my body.
Yeah. And if you are a socialized woman, and when I say that, I'm talking about if you were assigned female at birth, you were immediately indoctrinated into a set of systems, beliefs, how-tos from the time you were born until you are able to, your entire life really. And then,
absolutely.
And that's what happens, that's why we don't necessarily question things, because we don't consciously know different. We are raised to dress a certain way, to look a certain way, to be a certain way when you are assigned female at birth. And our value, at least I feel like for the generation I'm in, it's like heavily relies on your how you present. And, it's kind of unfortunate, but that's our reality.
Yeah. Do you think being in a constant dissociative state like that does anything for you and your body? Like, do you feel like that is a continuous state of dissociation?
I think it could be, absolutely. I think it's this like, I don't know. I think, do you know Glennon Doyle and her book Untamed? Have you read it?
No.
Oh, so Glennon Doyle is an incredible author and writer, and she has this book Untamed, and she talks about, she says, I am a goddamn cheetah. And she talks about this chapter, it like opens up into the book about this cheetah and it's caged and how it's always looking out, and like how in the story it's like roaming the fence lines and it's looking out and it like knows that it shouldn't be in that box. It's like it's even though it was raised in this like cage from the time it was born, it's like looking out and it's like, I know there's something bigger for me. Like, I know that I'm not meant to be within these cages and these, like, you know, whatever it is. And I think that's kind of how I see it now too. Like, we are born into boxes. We are born into like fit here and do this. But somewhere within us, that voice of radical self-love is so much bigger. It's so much greater. And if we can tap into that, it really can help like liberate us and free us. And I think it's just like becoming aware of it, you know, like you said, like tapping into your body, being able to actually come back home to yourself and get to know that part of you.
I wish I had a notepad because I want to take so many notes of all the great resources and all the things that you keep mentioning. And just like, I'm just like, wow, I need to start taking your classes because you know, I'm sitting here realizing how much coping I've done in life that's gotten me to the size that I'm at right now. Because I'm an emotional eater, and I wear it literally on my body. So, you know, I try not to have the shame of my body and be kinder to myself. And just hearing the way you're talking and the way that you've read and learned about different things, like it's really inspiring, and it really kind of wants me to ask, like, what sparked you to start teaching people like body positivity and all this?
Well, I think first I have to acknowledge that the body positive movement, it was a movement that was started in, I believe, the early 60s and was really meant for, you know, Black and brown fat activists and folks that were working towards liberating themselves. And I think it's kind of been co-opted by all bodies, especially like thinner cis white women. And so I really try and use the term positive body image activist or advocate to not take up as much space in the body positive movement. I don't know that is for me to lead. So with positive body image, I think it really started of just me finding an outlet on Instagram, honestly, to like post images of my body. Like photography was really liberating for me and actually really healing, for someone to take photos of me and me to see myself outside of my own reflection. Like someone else's lens could capture me and I could see these visuals of myself and actually appreciate them outside of that instant moment where I'm seeing my reflection. I have all these outside voices happening. It's like there was like too much for me to kind of recenter myself in those moments. So photography was like a really big gift for me to experience myself in a different way. Once I started posting that stuff on Instagram, it almost felt like a way for me to like liberate myself from the chains of like patriarchy and give myself the freedom to like own my body in a different way and take just like radical acceptance of how I looked in that moment and post it on Instagram and then have these beautiful like words accompanying it, whether they were positive or neutral, but just to like put it out there for the world and not be ashamed of it. Like shame is so consuming. It can make you hide and not want to show your body. And so for me to post something for the world to see, it was like I don't know, like a gift for myself to be like, I don't have to be ashamed. I don't have to hide anymore, you know? And so I think once I started doing that.
And a gift to us.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. So once I wanted to that, like, save, more and more people started joining the conversation. And now I'm like, I don't like, yes, I teach classes, but really I think that I'm just a facilitator. Like you hold all your answers. I'm just there to help facilitate the journey, help you to navigate to those truths within yourself. You know, like maybe you learn from what I share about myself and that makes me a teacher, but I just want to help people. I want people to feel guided, you know, and the only way I've known how to do that is to like share my story through socials. And my Instagram is Kaylynn Marisol, which is KAYLYNNMARISOL.
I love that approach so much. And like, I know I follow you on Instagram and I enjoyed all of your posts while you were pregnant. What was it for your relationship with your body during those those moments of like going through pregnancy. What was that like for you?
It's so interesting because being pregnant was the best I've ever felt about my body. And I have a challenge with, like, I feel challenged about that. And I have conflicting feelings about it because I think in general, I realize now that that's like the one time that our society says that it's okay to grow, for your belly to become big. You're respected still, you're honored. And I should say a lot of pregnant bodies are honored and respected. Not all pregnant bodies are, depending on your shape and size and gender. But I definitely was in a body that I feel like the more pregnant I got, the more like respect I got from the society around me. So, doors opening for me and smiles from strangers. And it was like the best I'd ever been treated in my body. And so I think that's part of it too that feels challenging. It's like that confirmation and that validation did come from outside of myself too when I was pregnant. But also you're experiencing, I was experiencing growing a human, and that is magical on its own. But I think, while I was pregnant, I kept telling myself, I don't want to lose this value that I'm giving myself when this baby leaves my body. Because right now I feel so good and I feel like this goddess. And the second this baby leaves, my body will look different and it will feel different. And just because of that and entering this new season, I was really afraid. I was afraid of what that would be like for me to navigate, because I think I knew that I was still holding on to a lot of beliefs about bodies and even postpartum bodies that I've never addressed because I've never experienced it. They were just hiding in my body, tucked away, waiting for this moment of time for me to have. And now I get to work through anything, regarding my body and body image now in this postpartum season.
Yeah, it was beautiful, that post that you posted. I shared it with a few other like friends of mine that are moms, family of mine that are moms, and friends of mine that are doulas, if I'm pronouncing that right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And doulas, and some of the doulas are for all bodies and not just femme bodies, in terms of pregnancies. And a lot of them were just like, wow, like just amazed by the story you shared and just like the vulnerability. And just, I remember exactly one of my friends, she was just like, I thought I was the only one, so like you just being vulnerable and sharing, your story has helped a mom feel a little less alone. And
that's good. Shame does that. Shame can make us feel so isolated and alone in our experiences. And when we are able to like find community and solidarity in other folks, it can be really honestly life-saving for some people and just encourage you to keep going. And even in my postpartum body, I honestly, I don't love my body. I'm not in a place of love. I appreciate my body, but how my body physically looks, I haven't arrived at a place of love yet. But I think my willingness to post my postpartum body, my stretch marks, my loose skin, these new things and experiences and sensations for me, it just takes away the power of the fear that I have over it. I have I'm experiencing fear of what my body looks like. What does this mean for me? What does this mean for the clothing I want to wear? What does this mean for summertime? What is this? And these are all things I have to uproot and work through again. And I've done it before and I just have to do it again in a new season. And so I think the willingness to post it for me, don't hide, just put it out there. You don't have to love it yet. But when you put it out there, you're just you're removing some of the weight on yourself that maybe you're holding when you're not sharing yourself. I don't know how to explain it exactly, but yeah.
It's something that I said into another episode, Embrace Your Shadows, is that something that you feel is taking away your power by you being vulnerable and sharing it almost brings power to it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, you get to reclaim
now these other moms. Exactly. Because now these other moms are feeling a little bit more empowered in their own bodies. And yeah, they're not in the place of I love it, but they have a different mindset just based off of what you're sharing. I wanted to say thank you that. And also, I think that maybe not everyone knows what a doula is. Do you have a better explanation of exactly what that is?
Yeah, I mean, there's all sorts of doulas. There's birth doulas, there's abortion doulas, there's death doulas. And doulas, I think, are just their support people for whoever's going through that experience. So, like, I'm a birth doula. My job is to support the birthing person through that experience. I don't have anything I don't support maybe like the baby. I'm not there to birth the baby. I'm there to truly provide and care for the birthing person from the time they are pregnant and reach out to me through the delivery and through some postpartum. And so I think really they're just support folks. They're guides. They're people that just are there to take care of you and kind of like help you foster like that care that you need through whatever experience you're going through.
Beautiful. I did have another question too, just because I have a doula friend that does stuff for all bodies. I was wondering, in terms of your coaching and the stuff that you do, are you all bodies, or do you just focus more on like femme presenting folks?
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to the Vulva Witch, like my intention was to help educate, empower, and inform. Like in the beginning, it was like people with vulvas, all genders. If you have a vulva, you want to learn about it, and you want to start to like, share, heal, celebrate your experiences. The space is for you. Then I had this really interesting conversation actually with my brother. He's a cis biracial, but white presenting man, and said, I really appreciate your work. And he sports my merch all around. And he had said, I wish that someone would have given me that education as like a cis man of like vulva education and diversity, and taught me about all of that, because that maybe would have made me like a better partner, or it does make me a better partner now, And so I think looking in hindsight and moving forward, it's for everyone. And it really just is, if you want to sit and listen and hold space for people that have vulvas and to celebrate that diversity and to support my work and, help provide that education moving forward, then I think, pull up the seat. The table's for you.
Yeah, I bought your book actually for my niece. She was just born last year, and I was like, okay, when she's old enough to read it, I'm giving it to her.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, you got to get it signed.
For real.
I could definitely do that.
Do you want to tell people a little bit about your book?
I wrote a children's book that was really dedicated to my mom. So the little girl in the book, her name's Chio. My mom her name's Rocio, but we call her Chio. And it's about a little girl and her friendship with the mirror, her reflection. And so essentially it's just her going to her reflection and saying like, when is our love supposed to change? Because she has this magical friendship with her reflection as a kid. And then she notices that her mom and her aunts, they start to have this like tumultuous relationship with their reflection as they get older. And her reflection, her friend in the mirror, is essentially telling her, like, it doesn't have to change. Like, we can always be friends. I'm always here for you. And really just to, like, help foster, like, positive body image and this friendship with the mirror and your reflection throughout your life.
That's amazing. Okay. At first, I thought it was, like, a technical, like, vulva. And in my head, I'm like, where is the vulva exactly? So, like, whenever I'm thinking of a book about vulva, like, all right, it's, like, graft and it's, like, Exhibit A. My bad.
Okay, I actually do have that coming out, Corey. So don't worry. There's one coming for you, an ebook that will be available soon. But the other one that B is referring to is a children's book, just about the
okay, so yes, that would be very weird. Okay, my bad.
Yeah. And for you listeners, we'll make sure to have a link in the show notes so you're able to buy the book and follow any of her future work as well.
Do you have any like pro tips on practices to tap into your body?
Ultimately, like the main tool that I use is honestly just that self-conversation, taking a moment to kind of be with yourself, like get away. Like if you want to be in front of a mirror is really powerful. Maybe you have to work up to that. That can be a hard practice for a lot of folks. But for me, it's sitting in front of a mirror so I could see myself and really telling my body, like, take a deep breath. I'm coming home to you. And this can feel really foreign. It felt foreign for me at first too. And some of this is like, it's almost like that fake it till you make it, you know, like you kind of have to like make effort and say things that maybe you don't even believe yet. Like that's where it was starting for me. Even now in this postpartum world in my body, sometimes I have to be like, you look fucking hot. Even if I don't actually totally embody that feeling right now, I'm going to say it until it becomes a new truth for me. And so when I'm in the mirror and I can just say, I'm coming home to you, and, you know, connecting with myself, putting a hand over my heart, putting a hand on my belly, touching the parts of my body that actually I fear the most, that can be incredibly powerful, you know, to just give yourself a moment to say, I value you, with my hand on my stomach, with stretch marks covering me and this new loose skin that I have, and to feel it and to say, you are beautiful and you are worthy and you are, you know, worthy of pleasure, and all of these things that in my mind, in the moment, I'm hearing the complete opposite. So if I could take a moment to come to myself and give myself 30 seconds, a minute, 5 minutes of intentional like touch and conversation, I feel like that is like incredibly powerful. And even just start with one affirmation. If you can't do like a whole 30 seconds or, you know, whatever, start with one thing.
It's like a moment to turn down that other voice that's just not doing anything for you.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I love that.
Good
I used to start my day every morning, give myself the first smile of the day and the first I love you of the day. And
love that.
I used to like crack up at myself and like, you are crazy. You're talking to yourself in the mirror. And
it can feel really silly.
Yeah. And then I just kept doing it every day until one day, all of a sudden, like poof, like I gave myself butterflies and I was like, whoa, I think what I'm saying now is true.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to think about it in the terms of like, maybe the outside voices have been occupying your body for 30 years. It can take so long to like uproot those and form new truths for ourselves, you know? So like have that patience and know that it's going to take time to really like for our voice of radical self-love to become what we hear first, to become the one that has the highest volume knob, you know? It's just going to take some time. Our whole minds have been occupied by different systems for years, and we just have to get curious, get to know them, and start to work to, you know, rewrite our story.
Yeah. And would you say that this practice is kind of what inspired you to do the workshop that you did at Some of Us Fest called the Draw Your Bits workshop?
Yeah. I mean, I think for me, I was like, when I started the work, the Vulva Witch, it was a photography project. And I really just wanted to educate on vulva diversity, because I was like, how are we taught about vulva diversity? And how are we able to get to like, you know, for me, I was like growing up, my vulva didn't exactly look like all the illustrations I was seeing or in school or in books. Like it didn't look like that at all, actually. It wasn't pink. It wasn't white. Exactly. It wasn't all symmetrical. So I was like, okay, is something wrong with me, you know? And then I had to and then finally at 30 years old, I'm like, our vulvas look so different, all of them. And how come we aren't taught about that? How come that isn't celebrated and normalized? And so I started photographing vulvas. And in those conversations I was having with people, a lot of people came to the project. They were like, I just felt called to come here. I don't even know why I'm here. I'm so scared. I'd photographed them. It's a whole, 45-minute experience. And we're going through a meditation, helping you feel safe in your body. The photography is really quick, actually. But a lot of people were like, it was their first time seeing their vulva was the photo. They had never looked at it before because they were afraid, or they hadn't looked at it postpartum, maybe because they were afraid of how it changed after having a baby. And so in that moment, I realized like a lot of people haven't even taken the moment or taken the time or been taught or encouraged to look at their vulva, which isn't for nothing. I mean, it's how we can advocate for our own health throughout our life as well, which is important to know what's normal for you and how your vulva actually looks or smells or any of the things that come along with it. And so the class was really, for me, intentional time for people to connect with their bits, whatever your bits are. to look at them, to celebrate them, to draw them, to, just like get to know your bits, whatever they are. And in a space that you are leading, it's empowered by yourself. It's consensual. It's an environment in which you can make feel safe for you. Because oftentimes, we, especially people that have vulvas, I mean, there's so many experiences in our bodies that kind of can strip us of our power. And so it's really an opportunity for people to kind of step into their power and get to know their bodies.
Mm-hmm. Where is the vulva?
Well, like oftentimes we hear people say vagina is like the coverall word, like your vagina, which is referring to people use to refer to our external genitals. However, if you're calling your vulva a vagina, it's like calling your face a nose. It's just your vagina is just one part of your vulva, right? And so
the vulva
your vulva is the entirety of like the external. So your like labia, your mons pubis, your the vaginal and your entrance of your vaginal canal, your urethra, right? Like all these things that you can see, like the entirety of it, that's your vulva, your external genitalia. And so I think that was the best way it was explained to me by a teacher back in the day. Like calling your face a nose totally removes you of like the entirety of it and the power of actually your entire face, right? We wouldn't just call it a nose. Yeah, calling it a vagina, honestly, that's intentional too. Our entire system wants us to like be really diminished into like, or boxed, I guess, into like childbirthing. And so we really focus on just the vagina when you're a socialized woman, when the vulva actually also houses like your clitoris, which is the most incredible part of the vulva, which is, solely for pleasure. And so it's really intentional that we actually ignore the entirety. The system ignores it so that we're not focused on our power to have or experience pleasure.
Wow, my mind. Thank you for that. Also, have you ever thought about like a game like Pin the Bits on the Body? Like you spin around.
I mean, that sounds amazing, Corey. Let's collaborate on that.
Yeah.
You can have that at Some of Us 2023.
Exactly.
Hey.
Hi, baby. He's just taking a moment to pop off the boob and look at me.
Yeah.
Come here, my love.
So are you going to be at Some of Us this year?
I will be at Some of Us. Yeah, I'll be there. And I will be photographing bits this year, which is exciting. And also have all the other things that I had last year.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Plus, and in addition to all the other things as last year, you'll have Pin the Bits on the Body.
Pin the Bits on the Body.
I will help you make that game up.
I love it. I'm so excited about it.
Well, before we wrap this all up, we just have a couple more things that we want to go through with you. Little Rome's now, like, my turn.
Yeah, we just kind of bounce a little bit, so don't mind the bouncing.
There you go. Oh, no, not at all. I kind of want to like bounce with you guys.
You can. You can.
Here we go. Let's all bounce together. Do you have any shout outs or anything that you want to just like really, put shine a light on?
I think a few people that I follow or like learn from that really have helped me feel more liberated in my body or given me permission to feel more liberated and powerful in my body. Alok. And you can follow Alok on Instagram, like one of the most empowering queer folks I've ever known in this lifetime. I feel like they're like a true leader for us. Sonia Renee Taylor, who writes The Body Is Not an Apology. Absolutely incredible. Ooh. Like this book, I'm reading it again right now in this season, and it's a book that I reread often. Cheyenne Gill, a really amazing photographer that has really beautiful representation of all different body sizes. And then I wanted to encourage everyone to watch this YouTube video called Poodle Science. And basically it's from the movement Health at Every Size. And it talks about like how dangerous it is that we are basically assessing health and wellness based off of like size and weight of folks. And so, yeah, Poodle Science on YouTube.
Like the dog.
Yeah, like the dog.
If you could have any like words of empowerment that you would like to leave some folks with.
Yeah, you might have my little baby vines in the background, but I actually wrote out a little thing that I wanted to read and like invite you to kind of take a moment for yourself. Let's just take a moment to connect with our bodies and that internal voice of radical self-love within all of us. If you want to close your eyes, you can, and take a nice deep breath together and through your nose and let it out through your mouth, a long breath. Let your body know in this moment that you're coming home to yourself. Say, I'm coming home to you. Maybe place a hand over your heart, another one on your belly. Body, even though you may not hear from me often, even though I don't always remind you, I want to tell you how grateful I am for you, for carrying me through every season of life, for being my constant, for patiently awaiting for me to arrive back home to you, for loving me and taking care of me even when I can't, for holding the space of all of my grief, heartache, and pain, for showing up even when I feel empty, for growing and evolving in the ways life demands of us, and for always knowing we are worthy of existing even when I forget. Body, you are home. I am here even when I am distant. I am here even when it feels hard. You are my primary partner, and I am working to find the deepest love and acceptance with you again. I will always come back to you. I love you.
Ooh, you got us all crying in this room over here.
How special. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm gonna section that out and put it on repeat.
I
No,
love that.
for real, same.
Meditation, yeah. Little morning meditation, right? Or nighttime.
Yes.
That was really
And that's
special.
the kind of like
Thank you so
self-talk
much.
and practices that we can all work on, you know, like writing yourself like little love letters like that, and just like intentional time just to connect with your body. It can do wonders.
Yeah,
I like that idea. Writing love letters to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
As I was going through your website, I saw that you had a merch section, and I think it would be really awesome if we can team together and maybe offer a little giveaway package or something, maybe a couple items here and there to some of our listeners. And yeah, if you could maybe give us a rundown of some of the items so that people can take a look and see what you have, and then something they want to insert.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. We're going to do a giveaway, and I have like Vulva Witch beanies. I have t-shirts that say like powerful like a clitoris or childbirth doesn't ruin your body. And actually a really cool shirt that's just like purple. It says vulva across it in big letters that I really love. So we can kind of make it what the person wants, and, you know, probably throw in a few other art pieces that I do in there as well. So yeah, if you follow us on Instagram, the Vulva Witch and Quest Wellness Podcast is on the handle, and follow us, and we'll have all the details on a post coming up for you to enter. And if you've made it this far in the podcast, the code word is Vulva Witch, and you will know what to do with that code when you read the post on Instagram.
Yes. And also, just to let you know, me and my partner, we own a vulva incense holder from the vulva. Oh, yes, and vulva earrings from her. So she's got some pretty cool stuff. You should check out the shop. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. I'm getting the vulva beanie.
Yeah.
Because it's
And
all
thank
about
you.
the whole thing, not just the
That is right, Corey. If that is the takeaway from today, I am happy.
That's amazing. Oh, thank you for coming on with us and being here and bringing little baby Rome and pleasuring us with the view of this little cutie.
Absolutely. It was so awesome to be here, and you all are doing amazing work, and I'm just grateful that you gave me the platform. So thank you.
Well, thank you.
It's an honor. I just want to say thanks again to Kaylin. That was awesome. A little reminder about being unapologetic, necessary. And thank you for letting us all know the difference between a vulva and a vagina. It was incredible. It's definitely necessary. I want to thank her for, that beautiful, empowering moment in the end, and, just kind of thanking our bodies and thanking, our body for all of the different things. And I never even thought of thanking the body for the grief part, which was really helpful for what I'm going through right now, so I just wanted to highlight that.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to also say thank you for allowing us some Kaylin time. I know it's difficult with a newborn, and it was such a pleasure to hear your beautiful words and sit with them for a moment and hear some tips on how to really just love the skin that you're in.
Truly beautiful. And special shout out to Nico Storment again for that queer symposium. It was amazing to build community like that. It was really fun to meet so many awesome people.
Yeah, we'll have to keep everybody posted on the next one so that you can go out and check it for yourselves. It's a beautiful community, and I think growing the daytime queer event space is going to be the next step.
Yeah, and if you're nowhere near the Bay Area, follow Rosen Creative House on Instagram to catch when they post stuff for the queer symposiums, because there's lots of great resources of people with amazing, amazing services to offer. So just check that out, and we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Speaking of community, if you would love to see us continue to grow, go ahead and drop some coins in that tip jar. Anything helps. You can click on our link tree, and you can click on the show notes at the bottom. We have multiple ways to get there. We make it easy. Anything helps. It just gets us something, because as of right now, this is a labor of love to start weaving this beautiful network of queer community.
Yeah, we would be so thankful for you to share your abundance with us.
And butts. And bits. Oh. Abundance.
Oh, clever. It just clicked.
Bun bits with us.
We have so much more to explore and to share with you. Tap that follow or subscribe button to get every episode as soon as it's released. Leave us a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts or Spotify. And join our wellness community on Instagram at Quest Wellness Pod. Also, be an official supporter of this podcast by leaving us a tip. The link will be in the show notes. This podcast was produced in collaboration by Kinoko Chocolates and Puka Puka Creative. Executive producers Stevie Kwa and Corey Houston. Producer, editor, sound designer Leah Jackson. Associate producer Rafaela Landestoy. Original music produced by Basque. His music is amazing. And we can't forget about the emotional support of our fur babies by Frankie, Ruby, Nugget, and Pukalani.
Woohoo! We did it! Okay, good. Wow. I was sweating for a moment there, y'all. I'm glad that it went okay.
Yeah.
Went more than okay.
Okay, good.
You're so good.
Y'all ever
Okay,
look at
good.
yourself in the mirror while y'all are high?
No, I haven't.